Grand Admiral Exthera stood on the pristine bridge of the Imperial flagship Eternal Grace, her four hands clasped behind her back as she studied the peculiar vessels appearing on the main display. After centuries of methodical expansion across the galaxy, the Empire had developed precise protocols for every conceivable first contact scenario. This situation, however, defied all existing parameters. Magnification increased to maximum, announced First Officer Zelnar, his crystalline features reflecting the soft blue glow of the holographic displays. Though I must admit, I almost wish it hadn't been. The Admiral's outer eyes widened while her inner pair narrowed, a rare expression of simultaneous curiosity and concern. The vessels before them seemed to defy the fundamental principles of unified design that every spacefaring civilization had naturally developed. One ship appeared to be constructed from at least 3 different architectural styles, its hull a patchwork of materials that somehow worked together despite all logic suggesting otherwise. Are those adhesive strips holding that auxiliary powered unit in place? Lieutenant Kara asked, her antennae twitching in disbelief. Scanning crew reports that the material appears to be a primitive bonding substance called duct tape, Zelnar replied, checking his datapad. They've also detected what appears to be. I apologize, but this can't be correct. A bobbling head ornament on the main ship's control console. Exthera was about to request a detailed structural analysis when the communications officer's console lit up. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the human vessels. They're inviting us to inspect their finest ship up close. Very well, Exthera responded, maintaining her composure. Prepare the diplomatic shuttle. The shuttle journey to the human vessel was brief, but increasingly bewildering. As they drew closer, they could see that what they had initially mistaken for battle damage was actually intentional decoration. Racing stripes in vibrant colors adorned the hull, along with what appeared to be a cartoonish representation of a human giving a thumbs-up gesture. The vessel's name was emblazoned across its bow in cheerful lettering. Hello there. According to our preliminary data, Zelnar reported as they approached the docking bay, this vessel was originally designed to deliver frozen dairy products to orbital stations. Impossible, Exthera stated firmly. Our sensors clearly show it's equipped with advanced propulsion systems and defensive capabilities that rival our own support cruisers. The docking bay doors opened with a musical chime, revealing a space that looked more like a comfortable living area than a military facility. The walls were decorated with what humans apparently called posters, and there was actual carpeting on the floor. As the Imperial delegation stepped out of their shuttle, they were greeted by Captain Sarah Chen, who wore a uniform that somehow incorporated both proper military insignia and what appeared to be casual wear. Welcome aboard the Hello there, she announced with genuine warmth. Sorry about the mess. We were in the middle of installing our new entertainment system when you folks showed up. Entertainment system, Exthera managed to ask. Oh yeah, can't explore space without good tunes, Chen replied, patting a massive speaker that definitely hadn't been part of the original ship design. Plus, we found out that certain bass frequencies make the quantum drive resonate in a way that gives us an extra 2% efficiency. We call it the good vibes effect. Exthera's diplomatic training prevented her from showing outward signs of distress, but her inner eyes were developing a distinct twitch. Here was a species that had somehow achieved faster-than-light travel, while treating their vessels like what appeared to be hobby projects. Would you like a tour? Chen asked brightly. We just finished installing the hot tub in the observation deck. Great for morale during long trips. The Imperial Center for Xenotechnology had never been so lively. Dozens of the Empire's most brilliant engineers huddled around holographic displays, arguing in increasingly frustrated tones as they studied the sensor data from the human vessels. Chief Engineer Vextor had already gone through 3 calming crystal sessions, and it wasn't even midday. This makes no logical sense, declared Senior Analyst Minra, her scaled fingers dancing across multiple data screens. The vessel designated Problem Solver is generating 30% more power than its reactor should be capable of producing. That's nothing, called out junior engineer Techley from his workstation. I've been analyzing tea time, and according to these readings, they're using their waste heat to brew beverages. Vextor floated over to Techley's station, his anti-gravity chair humming softly. Surely you must be mistaken. No spacefaring civilization would. His voice trailed off as he studied the data. They've integrated a refreshment system into their cooling network. That's actually rather clever. The main doors slid open with a soft whoosh, admitting a human engineering liaison named Dr. James Wong. He carried what appeared to be a primitive paper notebook and wore a shirt with the puzzling text, "Engineers do it with precision, usually." "Hey folks," he called out cheerfully. "I heard you had some questions about our ship designs." The Imperial engineers turned to him with an almost desperate eagerness. Minra spoke first, projecting a hologram of the Problem Solver's power systems. "This configuration defies our most advanced theoretical models. How are you achieving these output levels?" "Oh, that," James grinned. "We found out that if you play classic rock music near the reactor core, the vibrations help prevent plasma microclumping. Plus, the crew really enjoys it. Win-win." The room fell silent except for the soft sound of Vextor's calming crystals cracking. "But what about these structural reinforcements?" Techley asked, highlighting sections of the hull design. "They appear to be randomly distributed." "Ah, those are speed holes," James explained, sketching something in his notebook. "Started as a joke, actually, but turns out they create some interesting vortex patterns in subspace. Improved our fuel efficiency by like 15%. Sometimes the best solutions come from happy accidents." Minra's tail twitched nervously. "And this material you keep using for emergency repairs?" "This duct tape. Greatest invention in human history," James declared proudly. "Well, that and coffee. Speaking of which," he pulled a thermos from his bag. "Anyone want to try some? It's another efficiency breakthrough. Keeps engineers running at optimal performance." As the Imperial engineers cautiously accepted cups of the strange brown liquid, James continued explaining human engineering philosophy. He told them about percussive maintenance, hitting things until they work, the good enough principle. If it's stupid but works, it isn't stupid. And the rule of cool. Sometimes things work better simply because they look awesome. By the end of the session, Vextor had gone through his entire supply of calming crystals. 3 engineers had requested transfers to less stressful departments, and Techley was secretly sketching designs for what he called an aesthetically optimized drive system. "Before I go," James said, gathering his things, "would you like to see some of our latest innovations? We've got a ship called Space Puppy that's testing a new gravitational wave surfing technique. The crew says it's like riding a cosmic waterslide." As the human left, Vextor turned to his team, noting with alarm that several of them looked intrigued rather than properly horrified. "Remember," he said firmly, "we are Imperial engineers. We follow proper protocols and established scientific principles." "Of course, Chief Engineer," Minra replied, but she was already running simulations on something she called quantum drift mechanics. The announcement of the Star Maze Navigation Challenge echoed through every corner of known space. Imperial Decree 7249B declared it would be a prestigious demonstration of proper spacefaring techniques. The Empire's finest vessel, Imperial Precision, gleamed in the starlight, its quantum-aligned hull panels reflecting the perfect mathematical harmony of its design. Captain Linva stood proudly on her bridge, surrounded by the most advanced navigation systems ever created. "The course has been plotted," she announced to her hand-picked crew. "Every turn, every acceleration, calculated to 9 decimal places." That's when the humans arrived. "Wiggle room, requesting permission to enter starting position," came the cheerful voice over the command channel. "Sorry if we're a bit early. Our new experimental coffee maker gave the engines an unexpected boost." The Imperial observation fleet watched in collective dismay as the human vessel approached. It appeared to be a modified space bus, but that was just the beginning. Strings of twinkling lights traced patterns across its hull, creating the illusion of moving stars. The vessel's name was written in what appeared to be a font designed to look like dancing letters. Is that music coming from their external speakers? First Officer Meliter asked, his sensor stalks twitching in confusion. They claim it's something called space jazz, Communications Officer Zelpar replied. Apparently, it helps them feel the groove of spatial navigation. The human captain, Marcus Rodriguez, appeared on the main screen, wearing what looked like a traditional uniform top combined with something called lucky space pants. "Hope everyone's ready for some fun," he announced. "We've got snacks for the after party. Anyone here like space tacos?" Linva's professional demeanor didn't crack, but her left eye developed a slight twitch. "This is a serious competition, Captain Rodriguez. The Star Maze is the Empire's most challenging training course." "Oh, we know." Marcus grinned. "That's why we installed the bouncy cushions. And the spinning seats. Really helps with those tight turns." The starting signal chimed, and both ships launched into the course. The Imperial Precision moved with calculated grace, its every motion a testament to advanced mathematics and perfect engineering. Meanwhile, Wiggle Room seemed to be treating the laws of physics more like friendly suggestions. "Are they drifting?" asked Navigator Catel, watching the humans slide their vessel sideways through a series of crystalline asteroids. "According to these readings, they're using the gravitational fields like springboards," Science Officer Vexra reported, her fingers flying over the sensor controls. "And they appear to be playing something called Pin the Tail on the black hole while doing it." The observation fleet watched in amazement as Wiggle Room bounced, spun, and practically danced through the course. When they encountered a dense meteor field, the humans activated what they called their party lights, turning the hazardous navigation into what appeared to be an impromptu-like show. "They're matching our time splits," Linva noted with growing concern. "But their approach is completely random." "Not random," Melter corrected, studying the sensor data. "There's a pattern here. It's just they're treating space like it's a playground instead of a precision instrument." The human crew could be heard laughing and cheering over the open channel, occasionally calling out things like "watch this," and "here comes the fun part." Their enthusiasm was infectious. Several junior Imperial officers were caught trying to hide smiles. As both ships approached the final stretch, Linva realized something that shook her professional worldview. The humans weren't just completing the course, they were genuinely enjoying every moment of it. And somehow, their joy was translating into performance that rivaled centuries of Imperial engineering. "Hey," Marcus called out, "anyone up for trying this backwards on the return trip?" The Star Maze's final section was notorious for its dense field of quantum crystals, each one capable of shredding a ship's shields with a single touch. The Imperial observation fleet held its collective breath as both competing vessels approached the challenge. "Maintaining optimal trajectory," Captain Linva announced, her fingers dancing across the Imperial Precision's control interfaces, computing crystal oscillation patterns to 7 decimal places. From Wiggle Room, they heard what sounded suspiciously like disco music. "Did they just increase their speed?" Navigator Catel asked in disbelief. "Confirmed," Science Officer Vexra reported. "They've also activated something they're calling dance mode in their inertial dampeners." The human vessel swooped through the crystal field like a sparrow in springtime, spinning and twirling between the deadly obstacles. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the comm, somehow managing to sound both professional and thoroughly amused. "You know what they say, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right." "That's not a recognized navigational principle," Linva protested, even as she watched Wiggle Room execute a perfect spiral through a particularly dense cluster. "Maybe it should be," First Officer Meliter murmured, earning several scandalized looks from the bridge crew. The situation grew even more bizarre when wiggle room grazed one of the crystals. Instead of the expected catastrophic shield failure, the humans responded with what could only be described as improvisational engineering. "No worries," Rodriguez called out cheerfully. "Nothing a bit of space tape and positive thinking can't fix. Hey, watch this next move. We call it the cosmic cartwheel." The modified space bus proceeded to rotate along its longitudinal axis while maintaining its forward momentum, somehow using the crystal field's own resonance patterns to create a protective harmonic bubble around itself. They're essentially turning the most dangerous part of the course into their own personal light show. Vexra noted, her scientific curiosity overtaking her imperial propriety. The crystal interactions with their shield harmonics are actually quite beautiful. Both ships emerged from the crystal field neck and neck, but the real shock came in the final stretch. Wiggle Room deployed what the humans called their secret weapon, a series of perfectly timed gravitational hiccups that they'd apparently discovered while trying to make the perfect zero-gravity milkshake. "Are they surfing the space-time ripples?" Linva asked, her perfect composure finally cracking. According to these readings, Melter confirmed they're treating subspace fluctuations like some sort of cosmic wave pool. And it's working. The observation fleet watched in amazement as Wiggle Room rode the gravitational waves across the finish line, its crew whooping and cheering while their ship's external speakers played what they claimed was victory music. "Great race, everyone," Rodriguez transmitted. "Now who's up for some celebratory space tacos? We've got a food replicator that makes amazing guacamole. It was originally a terraforming device, but our chef got creative." In the aftermath of the race, the Imperial Review Board found themselves facing an unprecedented situation. The humans had not only completed the course in record time, but they'd also somehow managed to discover 3 new principles of quantum dynamics, invent 2 new forms of space dance, and prove that joy could, in fact, be quantified as a navigational aid. Captain Linva, after reviewing the sensor logs for the 7th time, finally admitted what her crew had already begun to accept. Sometimes the best solution wasn't the most precise one. Sometimes it involved a little bit of flair, a dash of creativity, and apparently, the judicious application of space tape. Although, she added firmly, I draw the line at installing a hot tub on my bridge. Of course, Captain Melter agreed, while discreetly hiding the human's business card for cosmic comfort. Hot tub installations for every occasion. The Imperial Science Academy's main lecture hall had never been so crowded. Scientists from every corner of the Empire gathered to hear the preliminary findings of the Human Engineering Analysis Committee. Professor Zeltrix, the Academy's most distinguished researcher, stood at the podium, surrounded by floating holographic displays showing various human vessel schematics. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of unspecified designation," she began, adjusting her gravity-defying spectacles. "What we have discovered about human engineering principles is both fascinating and somewhat alarming." The first hologram expanded to show the interior of a human engine room. This, colleagues, is what humans call a workshop. Notice the seemingly random arrangement of tools, the decorative elements, and, most puzzling, the motivational posters featuring small Earth creatures called cats. Murmurs rippled through the audience as they observed a particular poster showing a feline hanging from a branch with the text, "Hang in there, Space Explorer." But the real breakthrough, Zeltrix continued, came when we discovered their engineering textbooks. She gestured and new holograms appeared, displaying various human technical manuals. They have entire volumes dedicated to what they call thinking outside the box and creative problem solving. Junior researcher Vic Stahl raised a tentacle. "Professor, are you suggesting they intentionally avoid conventional solutions?" "Precisely," Zeltrix exclaimed. "Take this vessel, the sunny side up. When faced with a plasma containment issue, instead of following standard protocols, they installed a series of mirrors to create what they called a disco ball effect. This somehow resulted in a 23% increase in containment efficiency. The audience watched in fascination as simulation data showed the unconventional solution in action. Several younger scientists were seen taking notes with unusual enthusiasm. Even more intriguing, Zeltrix continued, is their concept of fun as an engineering parameter. This ship, the Morning Coffee, has a propulsion system that runs 15% more efficiently because, and I quote, the engine likes to dance. Chief Engineer Melkor stood up, his crystalline form vibrating with concern. But how can they possibly maintain safety standards with such whimsy? That's the most remarkable part, Zeltrix replied, bringing up new data streams. Their accident rates are actually lower than ours. They attribute this to something called Murphy's Law, their belief that by imagining everything that could go wrong, they're better prepared when something does. The holographic display shifted to show various human safety innovations, including their emergency protocols. The audience gasped at footage of a human engineer fixing a quantum fluctuation by combining a rubber duck, 3 paper clips, and what appeared to be a sandwich. Their approach to problem-solving is uniquely human, Zeltrix explained. They embrace imperfection as a source of innovation. When something breaks, they don't just fix it, they improve it, often in ways that defy our traditional understanding of improvement. A young scientist near the front raised her hand. Is it true they have recreational engineering competitions? Ah, yes, Zeltrix smiled, showing footage of something called a Maker Fair. They gather regularly to share ideas, compete in friendly challenges, and celebrate what they call the joy of creation. Some of their most significant breakthroughs have come from these seemingly chaotic events. The presentation concluded with a startling revelation. Human engineering manuals were becoming increasingly popular among younger imperial scientists. Underground groups had formed to experiment with concepts like freestyle engineering and intuitive design. In conclusion, Zeltrix said, adjusting her spectacles once more, while human engineering methods appear random and perhaps even ridiculous by our standards, we cannot deny their effectiveness. They have shown us that there might be more than one path to technological advancement. As the audience filed out, discussing the implications of these findings, a small group of junior researchers could be heard planning what they called an unofficial engineering jam session, complete with refreshments and something called brainstorming. Zeltrix pretended not to notice, but she couldn't help smiling when she overheard them discussing the possibility of installing mood lighting in the quantum physics lab. The Imperial Engineering Corps never expected their visit to Earth would begin in something called a garage. Yet here they stood, watching Chief Engineer Sarah Chen tinker with what she called her weekend project, a completely custom-built spacecraft that resembled a 20th century muscle car. You build vessels for fun? Senior Engineer Vexnor asked, his crystalline appendages trembling slightly as he watched her attach decorative flames to the hull. Of course, Sarah grinned, wiping grease from her hands. This baby's going to be my entry in next month's solar system drag race. Wait till you see the quantum nitro system I've installed. The Imperial delegation exchanged worried glances. They had been sent to Earth to understand human engineering principles, but everything they encountered seemed to defy explanation. Their carefully prepared questionnaires had proven useless within the first hour. Next stop on the tour, Sarah announced cheerfully, is what we call a makerspace. Think of it as a playground for engineers. The makerspace turned out to be a vast warehouse, filled with half-finished projects, experimental devices, and enthusiastic humans sharing ideas over something called energy drinks. In one corner, a group was modifying a food replicator to make the perfect pizza. In another, someone had apparently turned a terraforming device into a giant bubble machine. Is that a quantum core being used as a coffee maker? Junior Engineer Zelfi asked, her sensors struggling to process what she was seeing. Oh yeah, that's Bob's project, Sarah explained. He figured out that the quantum fluctuations create the perfect microfoam for LEDs. We're thinking of patenting it. The delegation watched in fascination as humans demonstrated their various hobby projects. Someone had created a gravity manipulation device that made it possible to dance on the ceiling. Another engineer showed off a teleportation system specifically designed to deliver fresh cookies across vast distances. But where are the safety protocols? Vexnor asked, watching a young engineer cheerfully attach rocket boosters to a desk chair. The careful calculations. The years of theoretical modeling. Oh, we have those, Sarah assured him, leading them to a computer station. See, all our crazy ideas are backed by solid math. We just prefer to do the math after we figure out if something's fun. The Imperial engineers found themselves drawn into the infectious enthusiasm of the makerspace. Junior engineer Sci-Fi even accepted an invitation to help modify a standard Imperial communicator, adding what the humans called rainbow sparkle effects to its quantum signature. The really interesting stuff happens during our weekly challenge events, Sarah continued, showing them a calendar full of events with names like Spaceship Shenanigans and Quantum Quirks Workshop. Challenge events. Senior engineer Telvac asked, unable to hide his curiosity. Yeah, teams get together to solve engineering problems in creative ways. Last week's challenge was to build a spacecraft using only recycled parts and at least one kitchen appliance. The winning team made a functional scout ship with an old refrigerator as the core component. As the day progressed, the Imperial delegation found their rigid worldview beginning to crack. They watched humans turn engineering problems into games, technical challenges into social events, and what should have been serious work into something that looked suspiciously like pure joy. Before you leave, Sarah said, would you like to participate in today's mini-challenge? We're seeing who can create the most interesting modification to a standard Imperial shuttle using only items found in a typical Earth garage. The Imperial engineers meant to decline politely. They really did. But somehow, 3 hours later, Senior Engineer Vexnor found himself proudly presenting a shuttle modification that used bicycle parts to create what he called a quantum pedal assist drive. More surprisingly, it worked. As they prepared to return to their ship, Junior Engineer Zelfi was overheard asking Sarah for the recipe for both energy drinks and what humans called workshop playlists. Senior Engineer Telvac had to be gently discouraged from attempting to install mood lighting in his personal quarters. Remember, Vexnor told his team as they departed, we're here to observe and document, not to. He paused, noticing that his datapad now displayed animated emoji responses. Who taught Zelfi how to hack Imperial technology? From somewhere in the makerspace, several humans and one junior engineer tried very hard to look innocent. The Imperial Design Review Board faced an unprecedented crisis. Princess Lyra's personal diplomatic vessel, traditionally a model of Imperial engineering standards, had undergone what she called a slight makeover. The ship now sparkled with embedded stardust crystals, featured graceful spiral patterns along its quantum-aligned hull plates, and responded to voice commands with cheerful musical tones. Your Highness, Chief Inspector Velinor began, his ceremonial robes rustling as he shifted uncomfortably. While we acknowledge your right to customize your vessel, these modifications are unconventional. Oh, but they're completely functional, Princess Lyra replied, her eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. The crystalline patterns actually improve our sensor accuracy by 12%, and the spiral designs create microvortices that reduce our energy consumption. The board members exchanged worried glances as the young princess pulled up holographic data showing the unexpected effectiveness of her improvements. Her ship, now named Starlight Sprinkles, had somehow managed to combine Imperial precision with human creativity in a way that defied their traditional understanding. And watch this, Lyra exclaimed, pressing a series of controls. Her ship's external lighting system created a cascade of colors that rippled along its hull, forming what she called a space aurora. It's not just for show, her chief engineer, Tellerus, explained quickly. The color patterns help us visualize our shield harmonics in real time. The crew's response time has improved by 23% since the installation. The transformation wasn't limited to the Princess's ship. Throughout the Imperial fleet, signs of human influence were becoming increasingly apparent. Young engineers had begun organizing what they called innovation parties, where they combined traditional Imperial technology with human-inspired modifications. In the Imperial Academy's engineering wing, Professor Zexity discovered students had created an underground club called the Quantum Tinkerers. Instead of reporting them, she found herself intrigued by their latest project, a gravity manipulation system that doubled as a dance floor. The oscillating gravitational fields actually helped stabilize the quantum matrix, one student explained eagerly. Plus, it makes our study sessions much more enjoyable. Even the conservative Imperial Central Command couldn't ignore the results. Ships incorporating these new hybrid designs consistently outperformed their traditional counterparts. The crew satisfaction ratings had soared, and maintenance costs had dropped significantly. It seems, Admiral Yenra noted during a high-level meeting, that happiness is indeed a quantifiable engineering parameter. The movement reached its tipping point during the annual Imperial Fleet Review. As the ships formed their traditional parade formation, something unprecedented occurred. The newly modified vessels began performing what could only be described as a choreographed space ballet, their coordinated movements creating patterns of breathtaking beauty, while maintaining perfect tactical positioning. Each ship is expressing its unique character, Princess Lyra explained to the astonished review board, while still functioning as part of the greater whole, just like the Empire itself. The final surprise came when Starlight Sprinkles demonstrated its new emergency response system. Instead of the standard stern alerts, the ship deployed rescue pods that left rainbow trails as they launched, their trajectories forming perfect geometric patterns that were both beautiful and incredibly efficient. The patterns help other ships track and coordinate with the pods, Tellerus explained. And the crews report that the aesthetic elements actually help them maintain calm during crisis situations. Back in the review chamber, Chief Inspector Vellner found himself facing a decision that would have been unthinkable just months ago. The evidence was undeniable. These enhanced vessels weren't just performing well, they were revolutionizing Imperial space travel. Perhaps, he said finally, straightening his ceremonial sash, it's time we officially recognized innovation as a cornerstone of Imperial engineering. Princess Lyra beamed as she submitted her proposal for an empire-wide creative engineering initiative, its first project, converting the rather austere Imperial Engineering Academy into something she called a galactic makerspace. After all, she concluded with a smile, who says precision and joy can't coexist. The Grand Imperial Shipyard had never looked so vibrant. Where once stood rows of identical vessels in regulation chrome, now floated an array of ships as diverse as the species that crewed them. The former Imperial Standard flagship hovered at the center, its newly christened name Stellar Dreams, written in elegant flowing script that somehow managed to look both dignified and playful. Grand Admiral Xthera, who had first encountered the humans all those months ago, stood on the observation deck, watching teams of Imperial and human engineers working together on what they called Project Rainbow Bridge. The quantum harmonics are perfectly aligned, reported Chief Engineer Sarah Chen, who had been specially invited to oversee the transformation, and the new hybrid drive system is running at 142% efficiency, which honestly surprised even me. And the decorative elements? Xthera asked, trying to hide her growing fondness for the swirling patterns that now adorn most of the fleet. The crystalline matrices we used in the hull artwork actually create microfields that enhance our sensor capabilities, Sarah explained. Plus, they make the ships look fantastic during sunset approaches. Below them, a group of young Imperial cadets was learning what humans called intuitive engineering from veteran spacer Captain Rodriguez. Their current project involved turning a standard maintenance bot into something they called a space Roomba with personality. It's not just about making it work, Rodriguez explained to his eager students. It's about making it work in a way that brings joy to everyone involved. The changes went far beyond mere aesthetics. The Imperial Engineering Academy, once a stolid institution of rigid principles, had been transformed into the Galactic Innovation Center. Its halls now buzzed with the energy of cross-species collaboration, its laboratories filled with projects that combine precision with imagination. Today's challenge, Professor Zultrix announced to her advanced engineering class, is to design a ship's recreational area that doubles as an emergency systems backup. And yes, she added with a smile, the hot tub suggestion from last week's session is still under consideration. Even the most traditional elements of Imperial society had embraced the change. The annual fleet formation display, once a showcase of military precision, had evolved into what was now called the Stellar Arts Festival. Ships performed intricate dances through space, their movements choreographed to create stunning visual effects while maintaining perfect tactical efficiency. The really interesting part, Princess Lyra explained to a group of visiting dignitaries, is how the artistic elements have improved our practical capabilities. Those light shows, they're actually complex sensor suites. The dance patterns, optimal battle formations disguised as entertainment. In the shipyard's newly established Tinkerer's Corner, a mix of Imperial and human engineers worked on their latest project, a fleet of small maintenance vessels that combined Imperial precision with human whimsy. The ships, dubbed Space Helpers, looked like metallic seahorses and moved with surprising grace through the repair docks. They're particularly good at navigating tight spaces, explained junior engineer Techley, who had helped design them. Something about the biomimetic design just works better than our traditional approaches. Plus, he added with a grin, they're absolutely adorable. As the day drew to a close, Exthera found herself on the bridge of Stellar Dreams, watching the sunset paint the fleet in brilliant colors. The ship's new systems hummed with a harmony that somehow reminded her of music, and the crew worked with a joy that she had never seen in all her years of service. "You know," Sarah said, joining her at the viewport, "when we first met, I don't think either of us expected things to turn out quite like this." Exthera smiled, watching a group of cadets test their latest invention, a quantum communication system that transmitted messages via holographic butterflies. "Perhaps," she replied, "that's exactly why it worked so well. Sometimes the best dreams are the ones we never knew we had." As if in agreement, Stellar Dreams created a gentle light show across its hull, its patterns reflecting off the other ships in the fleet, each one a unique blend of precision and creativity, tradition and innovation, Imperial glory and human joy. The future, it seemed, was both precisely calculated and wonderfully unexpected.